on like auto tech. The Panda Conf is the marketing stage.
Yeah.
We have all these different stages to involve different people into the ecosystem because it's so big. If you don't follow a track, you have no idea because there's so much stuff going on. You're not sure. So if you're coming in for like a specific vertical industry, then you can find the content that best suits you.
So, and what is like the feeling of the city? You as a startup leader of all the scene in Hong Kong, how the city reacts to this kind of event?
I think that it reacts very well. I think the ecosystem in Hong Kong is very supportive and very excited to have such a big event be taking place in Hong Kong. Just like Dublin was very excited, so Lisbon is very excited.
Nice.
So I think it's great that the whole community comes together. And I'm working with the local ecosystem leaders. So they may be in charge of like fintech or in charge of logistic tech or whatever. And we're having them all put on community events in the evening as well.
Nice.
So there's lots of content going on from morning to early next morning.
Yeah. So anything special that you can share with us that will happen this year?
Well, usually, I'm very excited about some of the speakers. So Gary Vaynerchuk is going to be one of our lead speakers, and I think this is his first time in Asia and addressing this audience because he did such a great job at Lisbon last year, right? That was fantastic. So very excited to have Gary come to Hong Kong. And I guess we have a lot of good top speakers coming in. We have a lot of good sessions with the mentor networks going on at the same time. The Night Summit, and then all these community events like the Startup Ferry, which is what we like to do. So I don't know if you've been to Hong Kong, but there's a ferry that goes across the harbor. So we've rented it out, and all the startups can pitch to get on there.
Nice.
We're also having startup karaoke as well. So
nice.
something as well that's fun.
It's related with pitch sessions.
Yeah, you have to sing your pitch in front of investors in a karaoke room. So you have to sign up for that. But there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on there.
Yeah.
And but the most part is that it's going to be fun, and people are going to be able to meet each other from around the world in Hong Kong.
What would be like the best advice for entrepreneurs going to Rise?
I think, okay, so you've seen Web Summit, right? There's a lot of people there and lots going on. So I think that some people might take it as it's kind of like a party, so you just kind of walk in there and just absorb it. But I think if you do that, you might miss what you're looking for. So I would definitely research the website. If you're looking to raise money and meet investors, I would look at the investor list and see their faces and try and find them and learn about them before you go there. I don't think you can just walk up.
There is any app that will help that?
We have we have an app. So if you get a ticket, you can get into the app and you can book meetings. So you should look at that. And if you can't book a meeting, at least you know what they look like and when they're speaking, so you can kind of like follow them around. I think this is a very important feature that a lot of people don't take into account when they go to a conference this size.
Like pre-preparation before the conference.
Yeah.
Any, like, you have a lot of years on this industry, so any special moment that you have, funny moment, weird moment on a conference or?
Well, at Rise the first year, I'll never forget this, okay? It wasn't a funny moment, it was just an inspiring moment. The last day, I went in to say goodbye to everybody as we closed the doors for the show, and a startup founder from South Africa came up to me and went, Casey, thank you so much for hosting this conference. This is the greatest conference I've ever been to. And I was like, who's this guy? I don't know, but he was so happy to have been there that I was like, wow, this is the last thing I see before I walk out of the convention center for those 3 days. I'll never forget that. So I think that was really cool, and I think that and everybody's experience and people coming in more and more, it's very exciting what the whole conference is doing.
Nice. So in a big perspective, like seeing the big picture, how you could describe this industry of events, like tech events, these giant events, how can you describe the whole thing that is happening in the world?
In the world, wow, yeah. I think it's I think you know this because that's what your startup is doing. It's like there's only so much you can do digitally, right? So much Slacking, so much emailing, so much Facebooking. That I think events is going to connect still the human piece, and I think that no matter how VR we get and all these kind of things, you're still going to need that human connection and meeting people and having a drink with them and talking about their business and their life. And I think that's something you can never take away. So I think that no matter what, this will have some sort of element in our lives.
No matter technology that we have, the real engagement will be with.
And maybe even more in demand than before, because as we get more and more disconnected and telecommute to our jobs and our work, these kind of events, I think, will spring up in other verticals that maybe you wouldn't think of, right?
So apart from Rise and Web Summit, that we know that are the best events in the world, what do you think that is missing in the industry that could be really disruptive or?
I think that number one thing I see is that I think that most conference organizers just concentrate on the speakers and 9 to 5, and that's it.
Cool.
And they forget that there's an entire thing going on in the evening that needs to be concentrated on. And the networking element is very, very crucial to this.
Exactly.
Because if you leave a conference and you didn't meet anybody, then
That's wrong.
you will say that conference sucked.
Yeah.
But if you leave that conference and you met 5 new people that become friends on Facebook or business partners or investors, you will say that conference is the best. So it's an organizer's responsibility and job to make sure that those connections happen. Because that's what you're paying for. That's what
Exactly.
you're flying across the world to do. You're not just going to have a beer and
Or
exotic
visiting
city.
some booths.
Yeah, you're not there to, you're there to make real life connections, and
Business.
that's the whole thing that the Web Summit does so well, is making that happen.
Okay. Thank you so much, Casey.
Thank you, Antonio.
Glad to meet you,
Glad to meet
and
you.
we'll meet again.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thanks. Bye.